And the only substance that is electrical, that are electrical, are those substances that come from the forest we call the jungle. Because the molecular structure is complete, it's not broken. If something is made by Mother Nature, one could easily use the common sense and see where this stuff is natural, is complete. But if something is made in the laboratory, well, naturally, common sense again shows us it could not be of usefulness. Each mineral on the planet, iron has 12,000 electrons per atom, calcium has 9,000, opium has this specific amount, and so it goes through the whole ramification of life. 142 minerals expresses themselves in a different way because that is necessary to maintain continuity, to maintain that individuality of each plant. The bones is calcium, not the blood. The blood is iron. Now we go back to the question of melanin. Wouldn't it be intelligent to ask one of the promoters of melanin, what is the electromagnetic structure of melanin? What is the amount of electrons per atom that represent this thing we call melanin? Why do we ask the question? Because it is necessary. We want to know, is this thing electrical? Yes. Well, if it is electrical, it has to have a definite amount of electrons per atom representing that particular thing.
Okay, let me ask you on that same subject. Let's say the generator that gives us electricity here in the city was cut off, and we wanted to get more electricity. What will we do? Will we stick one in the ground, or how would we work?
Stick one in the ground?
A wire.
No. What produces electricity?
Electrons.
No way. I was an electrician. I am an engineer. I work in what you call steam generating plants. I have a degree, I have a license in what is known as thermodynamics. We are dealing with physics now. The only thing that produces electricity, the only thing that produces electricity is the friction of copper and carbon. That could be seen in your automobile. Take out your generator and see what it has inside. It has a copper wheel and some carbon brushes that touches against it when it turns. Here's an example. This is the copper wheel in the generating plant that produced the electricity in this room. It is spinning at only 90 revolutions per minute, but against this copper wheel there are carbon brushes, and this is what you see. The spinning of the copper wheel against the carbon brush creates a friction. That friction is called resonance. Resonance is electricity, not electrons. Resonance. The resonance produces the electrons, not before. So now, if electricity is produced by copper and carbon, the friction of copper and carbon, then where do we go in the human body and find the organ that produces electricity? We find that it's the brain. The brain is the center of motor. The nervous system is the conduit that carries the electricity to various points of the body to cause motion. Now, should we ask, what is the composition of the brain? No. It is made up of what? Carbon and copper. The pineal gland is carbon, and the cerebral cortex, copper. We not only find that in a human being, we find that in the eel in Brazil that produces electricity to kill his prey. And when you open the eel, all you find is copper and carbon. No melanin.
Well, does everybody have a pineal gland? I was told the other day that everybody doesn't have one. Is that true or not?
If you had no pineal gland, you would not be alive. You would be no motion. It's impossible. Every race has pineal glands. Not every race has thymus glands. Oh, that's different.
Oh, yeah. Well, tell us about those.
The thymus glands. The thymus gland regulates sex, It also maintains energy. The thymus gland also keep you childlike, non-aggressive. But in some races, the thymus gland disappears at age 8. Then one becomes violent in one movement. But now, if the thymus gland disappears in some races at age 8, principally the Caucasian, what helps one to retain the thymus gland within the biology? The presence of what? Carbon. Thank you.
He has a question.
Right. So, Dr. Sebi, what you're saying is that due to the way a lot of medical people study medicine in this country and around the world, they don't understand the difference between, say, electricity and something that's electric.
Well, if we are talking about understanding, what do they understand? Because the question needs to be asked. Remember, the time for common sense has arrived. What do they understand? Don't be afraid. We need to ask these questions. What do they understand? No cure for common cold. No cure for diabetes. No cure for cancer, leukemia, sickle cell anemia, AIDS, blindness, diabetes, and no other disease. Well, if the physician clearly shows us that there is no cure for any disease, what do they understand? So we have to throw that understanding of whatever that premise is out the window. Everything that have ever come from the Caucasian, no, from the physician, has to be thrown in the trash because it's of no consequence. What have they done as far as usefulness in reference to pathology? What have they done? What have they reversed? Nothing. So why should a word be authority? No, we can't use them as some level of thinking, development, or seeing. No, we can't do that because they don't have that. They showed us. How old is the medicine that they are practicing today? It is 265 years old. It started with Bombastus von Hohenheim, only because he was prejudiced when he found out that Hippocrates went to Africa to learn his craft. And the fact of the matter is that Mr. Hippocrates, 2,000 years ago, used herbs to cure every disease known to man. If Mr. Hippocrates used herbs to cure every disease known to man, then 2,000 years later, why aren't we doing so? Because the healer has been educated and the substance he used is artificial. And he is totally unaware of that. Why? Because he learned his craft from an armchair position. They call it armchair research, not field research. And that is very, very vitally important to know the herb from a field perspective, from a field position. Why? Because in the year of 1983, I sent Mr. Adisa Akil to St. John Herb Store in Silver Spring, Maryland, and asked him to buy me a pound of bugleweed. Why did I want the bugleweed? Because someone came to me with a very bad heart problem.